Howdy, my name is Nonat, and today I'll be showing off all of the features available to Druids at first level character creation in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Everybody knows Druids, the nature-loving, shape-shifting, tree-hugging spellcasters of the RPG world. Pathfinder 2e has left the Druid pretty much the same as most other systems, and that's for the best. The Druid has always stood out as a different class from the others. They are one of only two classes that can access the Primal Spell list, the other being certain bloodlines of Sorcerer, and have multiple different orders to choose from that will differentiate them from other Druids. Let's jump in and see what choices are available for first level Druids. Druids can be almost anything. A backline support, a frontline fighter, a mid-range caster, you name it, a Druid can fill the role. So honestly, almost every single skill could be useful depending on the type of Druid being made. Wisdom is the key skill for their spellcasting though, so always invest at least a few points into it. Lore-wise, elves and gnomes are the most common Druids, but any ancestry could be effective as a Druid depending on the role that they intend to perform. Like the Ancestries, almost any background can be effective for your Druid, but if you want to stick to roleplay backgrounds that fit your Druid a bit better, I'd recommend the Bounty Hunter, Emissary, Herbalist, or Scout. Alongside their ability boosts from their Ancestry and Background, all Druids gain a boost to their Wisdom, as well as 4 free boosts of their choice. Listed on page 129 of the core rulebook, Druids begin with these proficiencies. Jot these down if you're making your character along with this video, and feel free to pause if you need more time. All Druids gain access to Primal Spellcasting. As long as they can supply the material, somatic, and verbal components of a primal spell, they can cast it. Most Druids will also have a Primal Focus. This is a symbol of their connection to nature, such as a twig or sprig of holly. So long as the Druid holds this symbol, they do not need to supply material components for their spells. At first level, Druids have access to all first level primal spells, as well as every primal cantrip. However, they can only prepare 2 first level spells per day, and only 5 cantrips per day. Ignore the mistake on the chart that claims they can only prepare 4 cantrips per day. This was fixed in the core rulebook errata, and the text above shows that they can prepare 5. All Druids, no matter what order they belong to, share a list of common Anathema. These are acts that, if committed enough, will force the Druid to relinquish their powers and perform an atonement ritual similar to that of a cleric. And like the cleric, technically, if the Druid critically fails their atonement ritual, they are cast out of nature completely and will never again be able to receive their primal Druidic powers. This is, of course, completely up to your GM whether it happens or not. The Anathema that are shared between all Druids prohibit the use of any metal armors or shields, forbid the corruption of natural places, and Druids are forbidden from teaching the Druidic language to non-Druids. The Druidic language is a secret tongue known only to Druids, and does not count against the Druids' starting languages. All Druids receive the Shield Block General feat, giving them much more survivability in combat, as well as the Wild Empathy ability. Wild Empathy enables Druids to use diplomacy on animals to make very simple requests or prove that they can trust you. They cannot directly speak with animals this way, but the animal will understand what the Druid is trying to get across. Finally, perhaps the biggest decision a Druid must make at character creation is their order. In the core rulebook, there are 4 distinct Druidic orders, and each one gives a unique set of bonuses and abilities. There are also specific feats at later levels that are locked behind each order, such as the 4th level Woodland Stride being locked behind the Leaf order. Each order also grants a unique order spells. These are focus spells, and all Druids begin with a pool of 1 focus point. A single focus point is expended each time a focus spell is cast, and can be regenerated by communing with nature for 10 minutes. The Druid also gains proficiency in a specific skill depending on which order they choose. It is stated in the core rulebook that Druids are capable of studying more than one order, so if the opportunity presents itself within your campaign, consider asking your GM if you'd be able to study with another Druidic order for a time and gain access to that order's benefits as well as your own. On top of all of this, each order also has a unique additional anathema that they must obey or lose their powers. The Animal Order is for Druids with a strong connection with the beasts of the wild. It grants the Animal Companion Druid feat, trained proficiency in the Athletics skill, as well as the Heal Animal Focus spell. Heal Animal restores 1d8 hit points and can be cast using 2 actions to give it a 30-foot range as well as an additional 8 hit points healed. However, it can only be cast on a willing animal target. The Animal Companion feat works the same as all other Animal Companions, and I'll be covering it in a future video at some point. Until then, Basics for Gamers has a wonderful video on the subject that you should definitely check out. Tell them I sent you and give them a sub and a like for me. Any unnecessary cruelty towards animals is anathema to this druidic order. The druid may defend themselves and kill for survival, but killing for sport or entertainment is forbidden. The Leaf Order reveres nature and the flora that inhabits it. They aid destroyed environments and tend to the gardens of nature. Druids of the Leaf gain the Leshy Familiar Druid feat, trained proficiency in diplomacy, and the Goodberry Order spell. They also receive a bonus focus point to their focus pool, increasing it to 2. The Leshy Familiar follows the rules of all other familiars, though instead of being an animal, it is a small plant elemental. Goodberry, unlike its D&D counterpart, is a fairly tame but effective spell. It imbues 1 berry with healing properties, restoring 1d6 plus 4 hit points to the consumer. Every time the spell is heightened, you can imbue an additional berry, and if a creature consumes 6 berries, they will gain the same nourishment as a full square meal. This means that just because you have a leaf druid doesn't mean you'll survive in the wild on this spell alone. The anathema of the Leaf Order is any needless destruction of plants. Unless needed for food or survival, leaf druids must let nature thrive. Controlling the winds themselves are the storm druids. They gain trained proficiency in acrobatics, the Stormborn Druid feat, and the Tempest Surge focus spell. They also gain an additional focus point, increasing their focus pool to 2. The Stormborn feat grants the druid immunity to penalties while fighting in harsh weather. They receive no penalty to ranged spell attacks or perception checks caused by the weather, and can even attack targets concealed by weather effects like fog with no issue. The Tempest Surge focus spell encompasses a target with a personal storm of wind and lightning. The target takes 1d12 electric damage and makes a basic reflex save. If they fail, they also become clumsy too and start taking persistent electric damage. The purity of the air is what's important to this order, so any kind of pollution of Galarian's air or shifting of its climate is anathema to the order. It is also the order's responsibility to punish those who commit these crimes against nature. Finally, the Wild Order are savage and embody nature in its purest form. They gained trained proficiency in intimidation, the Wild Shape Druid feat, and the Wild Morph focus spell. The Wild Shape feat simply grants the druid a focus spell of the same name. While they sound similar, Wild Shape and Wild Morph are quite different spells. Starting with Wild Shape, you can polymorph into a wide list of animals, though at first level, your choices are only cat, lizard, insect, or rat. Your stats and abilities change according to these descriptions. Wild Shape will gain new forms and choices as the druid levels up and obtains different feats, but for level 1, these are the only options. Wild Morph only polymorphs part of the druid's body rather than the whole thing. At first level, they can morph their hands into Wild Claws. These claws grant an unarmed attack that deals 1d6 slashing damage with the Agile and Finesse traits, meaning that these attacks can use your Dexterity modifier for damage and take a smaller penalty for multiple attacks in one turn. The druid can still hold items during Wild Morph, but cannot attack with them. Wild Morph also gains new choices and abilities as the druid gains new feats and levels, but these claws are the only option they can use at first level. Wild Order druids must never become civilized or rely on the temptations of society to survive. They may make use of them for brief times, but they cannot ever call these places home. To do so would be an anathema against their order. And that would be it if it weren't for you clever commenters down there. You made an excellent point that I should still go over the other first level feats even though casters don't technically get access to them until second level. This is because humans have an Ancestry feat they can take, which allows them to take an additional class feat at first level. So these first level feats can still be taken by humans. So let's check out the 2 other feats for druids that can only be acquired by human, half-elf, and half-orc druids at first level. These 2 additional feats are Metamagic Feats, and amplify or change spells that are cast this way. The first is Reach spell. Using 1 action, you prepare to extend the range of the next spell you cast by 30 feet. This also works for touch spells, so spells that require a physical touch can be cast at a range using this feat. The other metamagic feat is Widen spell. You use 1 action to manipulate the next spell you cast that has an area of effect. If the spell has a burst of at least a 10-foot radius, its radius is increased by 5 feet. If the spell has a cone that is at least 15 feet long, the cone grows 5 feet longer. And if the spell is a straight line that is at least 15 feet long, it gains an extra 10 feet of range. Remember that even though only humans can take these feats at level 1, any druid can take these feats at any level where they acquire a new feat. And that is about it. Wow, this was longer than I thought it would be. Hopefully I get it out on time. Now that I'm actually recording this, it's not. But more importantly, I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing and ringing the bell to know exactly when these videos go live. We are seriously on our way to the first big milestone of the channel, 1,000 subscribers. We just passed 400 subscribers the day before recording this, and that kind of growth in less than 2 months is mind-blowing. A sincere thank you to all of you who have enjoyed the content so far. I definitely plan on doing something to celebrate 1,000 subscribers once we get there, but I'll keep that a secret for now. I'm excited for it though. Until then, I'm going to keep pumping out these guides, the spellbook videos, and maybe some other types of videos as well. Who knows? Either way, that's enough rambling for one end slate. I have to go edit all of this now. So until next time, no nat ones.